Hey, it's Karyn Bryant for MMA H.E.A.T. I'm talking with Jake Shields, who is in Brazil right now. He'll be facing Demian Maia at UFC Fight Night 29 in the main event. And Jake, first and foremost, I have to say thank you for taking the time. I know it's a little crazy with the time change and your preparation, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So listen, it's a big deal for you to be the main event, but you're going into hostile territory. I know it's a little bit of an obvious question, but how are you feeling about the crowd down there right now and how you're being received going against somebody who's so loved in Brazil?
Yeah, I mean, I feel fine. I don't think it's a big problem. I know when I go out there, they're going to boo and yell die and all that, but everyone's been really respectful. I walk around, the Brazilian fans have been coming up to me on the streets, treating me great. I mean, overall, they're really respectful. It's just they get really passionate when it's fight time, so I know I don't have to take them personal.
Right.
I've fought all over the world, and I'm used to going in being the bad guy, fighting GSP in his hometown and the Japanese in their hometown. And so of course, the Japanese are quiet. They don't boo you, but I'm still used to being the bad guy.
But you know what they're thinking anyway, right?
Exactly. They're just thinking die. They're not yelling it.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny because I've been to Brazil now several times, and the chant is actually "Ue vai morrer," which means "Oh, you're gonna die." You're gonna die, and it's funny because some people think, "God, the Brazilians are really hardcore," but like you just said, it's passion. They don't really mean any ill toward you. They just want their guy to win.
Yeah. I mean, all of the streets, the Brazilians been coming up, taking pictures, being super nice and respectful. I mean, everyone here has been nice so far.
Yeah.
So.
Well, do you feel, because I certainly do, that part of that respect level comes because you are so loved and highly respected for jiu-jitsu, which is obviously near and dear to their heart. Are you feeling that sensibility?
I think so. Jiu-Jitsu is so popular here, and I have such a good jiu-jitsu pedigree, so I think that definitely helps. And I think they just love UFC and are respectful overall. Yeah. But they're also very loyal to their own country,
Right. Right.
Brazilians pretty much always go for the Brazilian.
Of course, of course.
And Demian Maia is a guy that's hard not to like. He is he's a nice guy, very respectful. So I'm sure he has a good memories down there.
Well, and that's the thing. I like Demian very much, and I have to kind of figure that. You cross paths with a lot of people over the course of your career, and I would think that Demian is somebody with whom you probably had a rapport and a great sense of equal respect. Is that overstating it, or would you say that's true?
I've always had a lot of respect for him as a fighter. For some reason, we've always been in the same circuit, but we never really talked. But he's always a guy I had a lot of respect for him.
Yeah. Well, and both of you have gone up to 185 too, and then come down. Are you surprised now that you're meeting at 170 instead of 185?
Yeah, I guess if I'd have fought him, I'd have expected to beat 85 because he had most of his career 85s. But, I mean, he's looked great down at 70s, so I'm excited to fight him right now. Even though he's a little older, he's looking like he's the peak of his career right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say, too, I haven't looked exactly at the odds, but are you the underdog in this one?
I have no idea. I haven't looked at the odds.
All right, I'll have to check. But do you?
I have no idea.
That's cool. Well, I know we've been talking about. We actually did a video where we do 3 questions and we ask people to give a prediction. And I know you've been talking about your American Jiu Jitsu versus Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But how do you think you match up? Because you guys are both so good at that. Does it negate the game? Will we see no Jiu Jitsu and it'll be all stand up?
It's definitely an interesting matchup. I think we're the exact same size. We're big 70-pounders, well-conditioned, both great jiu-jitsu. I think both of our stand-ups underrated, so we match up in so many ways. It's just hard to say where the fight's going to go. But I know I'm in shape, I'm prepared, and I plan on bringing it to him.
Nice. Were you surprised at what he did to John Fitch? We kind of joke that he outfitched Fitch, and I know you've trained at AKA, and I'm assuming you've rolled with John at some point. Were you? What was your take on that fight?
Honestly, yeah, I was surprised, not by him dominating John with jiu-jitsu, because I know how good jiu-jitsu is, but just by the takedowns, like how easy he took John down and how many times. I mean, he took John down over and over repeatedly. I mean, John was never able to stop it. I don't know how much of that was maybe from the get-go. Sometimes you get off your rhythm, you can never get it back, or was he just that much better? It's hard to say which was the situation, but he definitely looked great in that fight.
Yeah. And actually, you're reminding me now, if I remember the fight, the stats on your grappling, you and Demian are very close, but I think he edged you out in takedown defense a little bit. So that is something maybe you had to prepare for, certainly, right?
Yeah, I think his wrestling's been a little overlooked. His wrestling's great. I think he originally has a judo background. I mean, he's taken guys like Chael Sonnen down. I mean, before John Fitch, Rick Story's wrestler took down at ease, stun gun. I mean, his wrestling is just is extremely good for a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. Right.
Well, let's talk about you, though, Jake.
Yeah.
So I mentioned here that you've trained at AKA. I know I was talking to Tarek, your head coach, a little bit the other day, and we were talking about AKA. So who'd you train with there? Did you mix it up with like Luke and some of the guys? Who did you primarily train with?
5-pounder. Luke's extremely tough and southpaw. Some wrestling with DC. Trained with Khabib, the Russian. He's a killer.
That guy is what a rising star, huh?
Yeah. Tough guys there, And my camp isn't AK. I just went down there for some sparring on the side, but it's just great sometimes to get in there and be competitive with some of these top athletes with styles that I'm not used to and guys I haven't gone with. So it definitely helps be able to go down there every now and again and get some hard competitive sparring again.
For sure. No, Jake, I was just curious if you feel that sort of background noise buzzing around where people talk about, oh, every fight's got to be exciting now, and every fight you've got to win. You're in a very tough division. Do you feel that background noise, or are you able to kind of just tune it out and focus on the fight?
Yeah, a little bit. It's definitely a lot of pressure. You go out there, you got to win. You got to try to win in exciting fashion. It definitely puts pressure from both ends to win, but then, being exciting, you're more likely to, make mistakes, more likely to lose. So it's kind of finding that balance to, win and put on a good fight.
Has it been difficult? Tarek, again, tweeted something earlier that it was tough to be there without his road dog, Gilbert Melendez. I know Gilbert's somebody you train with a lot. Were you able to mix it up with him as much during this camp?
Yeah, I still trained with him a lot this fight. Not as much because Damian's a southpaw and Gilbert's also fighting a southpaw. So we had a lot of southpaws coming in and they rotated on us. So I only sparred. I definitely still sparred Gilbert, not quite as much as normal. But yeah, it's weird not having him here. He comes to all my fights and helps corner me along with Tarek. So it's a little weird, but it's something I'll be fine without.
Yeah, but also too at the same time, you guys have been so close for so long. I wonder, is it tough now that you guys can't train together, but at the same time, are you excited about the possibility that means you guys are both rising and doing so well? You know what I mean? I feel like there's got to be a good feeling about that as well.
Yeah, we still train together all the time. It's just, the only reason he couldn't come is obviously his fight is 10 days after mine, so there's no way he's going to be able to come to Brazil. And there's been, I've missed, one or two of his fights for the same situation where I had a fight right after. So it's something we've had to deal with a couple times in the past, but overall, I'll plan to beat any fights that I can make, and he'll do the same for me.
How do you think he'll do against Diego?
I definitely think he'll win, but Diego's a tough opponent. I think a lot of people are looking past him, and he's one of those guys when he shows up, he's tough. There's some nights he doesn't look as good, but when he shows up ready, he's a handful. But that being said, I think Gil's going to take him out.
Well, I thought Gilbert did a great job in his title fight, and it's funny because when the Sanchez fight got announced, I think immediately I was like, oh my God, hell yes, this is an exciting fight, which was the same reaction I had when you and Demian got announced. Was that a fight you went looking for? How did this fight with Demian come together? Because for people who are true fans of the sport and of jiu-jitsu, this is a matchup that's just made in heaven.
Yeah, it's not a fight I went looking for, but when they offered me, I was very excited. But originally they called someone got hurt that's supposed to fight Demian. Josh Koscheck. Right. They called me 10 days notice and hey, you want to fight Demian in 10 days or 2 weeks, whatever? And I was like, well, I'd love to fight Demian, but he's way too good to fight in less than 2 weeks notice down in Brazil. Sure. So sorry. And then I was a little disappointed to turn down the fight because someone I really wanted, but I guess they couldn't find anyone else to replace him. So they called me back a couple days later and be like, hey, how about we pull Demian for the card and put you back and you have him fight in Brazil at a later time. Well, and obviously I wasn't that excited to fight him in Brazil, but I was excited to fight him.
Yes, and I agree. And I think for the fans, too, you versus Demian is a fight with more excitement, drama, and repercussions, than a fight between him and Josh. No disrespect to Josh, but I think, there's a lot more riding on a fight between
I think the two, top jiu-jitsu guys in the welterweight division, so we get to go out there, and we've got a lot in line. Neither one of us wants to get submitted to each other, so...
Wow. And the last thing you had was a fight with Tyron Woodley. How'd you feel about that? It was a split decision win for you. How'd you feel about that fight?
Yeah, it was good. I felt to push the pressure. He was really tough matchup for me because he's such a good wrestler, so hard to take down. I felt like he was being a little passive. He was looking for the one big shot, so it was a little frustrating of a fight. But I was able to push the pressure and do enough to win.
Yeah, and Tyron is another one of those rising stars. So it's nice that you got him out of the way now because you might end up meeting him again, and now you know what he's like.
Yeah, he's got a lot of potential. He's definitely a tough young fighter.
Absolutely. All right, so Jake, now it's just your weight cut is coming up next. You're feeling good about that. Is it difficult for you to cut your weight on the road?
Pretty much always cut it on the road. It's actually the problem is that I do I cut in Bass. There's no Bass in hotels here in Brazil, so it kind of throws off my definitely throws off my weight cut. Makes it a little more difficult, but I guess you just have to adapt to the situation and make the weight.
Nice. And at least the food is good there when it is time to replenish.
Yeah, lots of good fresh food everywhere.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to be doing the weigh-in show, so I will see you when you are on the scale. But
Oh,
for
you'll be
now,
down in
I
Brazil?
want to say thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it, and I
Awesome.
just really wish that you and Damian have a great fight.
Awesome. Then I'll see you Wednesday
Awesome. Thanks,
or
Jake.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah. Thanks.